Hey, it's your boy Boyku back. I'm recording these sessions one after another because I don't want to lose my place. So that's why if you see the same studio open, that's why. So let's move on and let's focus on one of the main things, which is functions now and variables. So we're going to insert a script. Now, most people will teach you by inserting into workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert it to workspace, and I'm going to drag it into the search script. Let's name this functions YouTube. Now, first, before we learn about functions, we'll have to learn about variables. Now, a variable is, let's say, local a equals. Then you can make this into a variable. So it's kind of like a so whenever you reference a, you'll reference what's inside the variable. So let's say we want to reference workspace dot baseplate. So now let's say we want to print a dot name. Now if we print a dot name, it should print baseplate because that's the name of the baseplate that we're referencing. See, baseplate. Now doing this right here is the same as just doing this. Now let me explain what workspace dot. Okay, imagine this. Imagine these dots are arrows pointing to where you want to go. So let's say we want to go from the workspace to the terrain. So instead of clicking on it in a script, you have to reference it with a dot. So now that's how we reference to the terrain. We have to do it in order. So let's say you're doing it to a certain player. Game.players.player name. You're referencing to the player. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what a function is. Now, this is a function. You can now, whenever you create a function like this, you have to name it. But there's other functions that use events where you cannot name it, and that's what I'm going to be going into after this, because those are the functions that are mostly used. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to name this function. Let's say do math. Now, inside this bracket, you want to put a variable. You can put as many variables as you want. You could put A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But for simplistic sake, we're going to do A and B, otherwise known as num1 and number2. So, what does this mean? That means what we're going to do is whenever we're just going to add the numbers. So num1 plus num2 let me see why this is not working like I intended. Well, oh yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry. I was gonna print it anyway, so you can't just do it in like this. You can do it if it's in a variable, but you can't do a variable plus a variable. I forgot that. Like, you can't add a variable and a variable and make it one variable and print that variable, if that makes sense. Unless, of course, like you make a new variable, local sum equals num1 plus num2. Then you can print sum instead of this. But what I tried to do is I tried to add them together and make them into the num1, which you cannot change the num1 since it's in this variable right here. So we had to create a new variable called sum. And now we're going to print sum of num1 plus num2. Now, you're like, what is the numbers? Now, this is where a function becomes really fun, because you can pass in anything to do with these numbers. Let's say do math 22 50. Now, what's 22 plus 50? 72. So let's say we run this. Print 72. Now, this is where functions are really, really good. I'm going to show you what you can do with them, and let's say like an actual use. Let's say we're going to be creating what's a simple script that we can do? Let's just make a basic touch. Now, what we're gonna do is, but whenever you do a touch script, you usually want to put the script inside of the part because it makes everything really simpler. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do script, which is referring to this script, and the parent of this script. Now, remember what I talked about the properties? Now the parent of this script is the part. So we're referencing this part right here. Now we're gonna do touched. This is an event. So what you want to do is with events, you want to connect. So you want to connect the event. Now we're going to reference touched here, but we have not created the function for touch. So whenever we touch this brick, we're going to reference the function touched. So let's create a function called touched. Now, whenever the things with the touch function, whenever it hits it, that's what it returns. So what we're going to do is we're going to reference it. We're going to name it touched, whatever it's touched, and we're going to print what touches. We're going to print the name because it's going to be a part that touches it. If we just try to print the part, I'll show you what happens. You cannot, if we're trying to figure out what part touches something, like if you do it like this, it won't work. It'll just throw in a bunch of stuff right here. Never mind. I think it just prints the. I'm wrong. But name should do the same thing. I think because before it would have print like, I don't know. Because it'll print the same thing with name. Yeah. Okay, what I think it does is I print this one right here prints the name, and the other one prints the object. But it still prints technically the name. Let me see. Let me see something real quick. Let's see if we can print the player. If this works, it means that you can print objects in the output. Yep, you can print objects in the output. To be honest, I never knew that. That's why I always print the name. Now, let's say this is touch. We're going to want to make sure it's a player. Now, what we do for that is if you've seen that whenever we touched it before, let me see if I can go back. Now, whenever we touched this before, apparently it doesn't want to work, so let's try it again. You'll see how it prints lower leg, left foot. It prints the parts that are inside your player. Now let's look at the parts inside of our player. Don't they all look familiar with what they're printing right here? So whatever touches this, it'll print it. Our left foot touched it, so this right here just touched that. So how do we make sure this is a player, not just another part? Because if another part touches this, you don't want to try to find something that's regularly in a player. So to do that, what we do, wrong one. What we do is we do touch. What we do is we use the if statement. An if statement is if so, is so, then. So basically, if something is something, they'll do that. So let's say if script, not script, if touch dot parent find first child, then now what does find first child do? This basically just finds the first child with the name of something. Let's say you want to make sure there's let's say you want to make sure there's a part in whatever you're doing. You want to do find first child, then the part name, or you can even do a model name, player name even. But now what we want to try to find is the one thing everyone has is a humanoid. Let me show you that real quick. Every person has a humanoid. This is what controls your health, everything like that. Even NPCs have humanoids. But Now, what we do is, what we put right here is just humanoid. So whenever you touch this, it'll make sure you have the humanoid before it does anything else. Print is a player. So now if we touch this, it should say that we're a player. See? It found the humanoid, so we're a player. So now, this is where, let's say we want to make it so if you touch it, you die. This is a kill brick, you know? Now what we can do is we can do this, then go health equals 0. But this is something that, this is what you want to usually do in most scripts, is use find first child, if you use find first child above. Because if not, let's say like something else touches it while you're touching it, like it could break. Like ROBLOX scripting is like really wonky sometimes, so you always want to add checks, and no matter what you do, so your script doesn't break. So now, let's say it finds the first child of humanoid, then it changes the health to 0. So now when we touch this brick, we should die. As if my studio doesn't be down. Now we touch this, we die. Now that's a basic kill script. Let's say, so this is how functions work. This is how basic functions work. It's really simple. Now this is the touched event. Now let's say we want to do like a player added event. You know, like when someone joins the game, you want it to say something. So now to do that, we'd name this to player joined and change touch to player. So now if we do, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of this, put it in search storage, name this player joined. You don't have to name this player joined, you can name this anything. It's just easier if you name your scripts so you know what they do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do game.players. Remember, this is how you reference something. So we're going to the game, then to the players, then whenever a player joins, so that's player added, we're going to connect the function player joined. Now when a player joins, this is going to be the player that joins right here, player, because this is the variable, and this can be named anything, but this is just for simplistic sakes. Every event has a different variable it passes through when it connects, and to find those out, you'll have to just play around with it. So let's say the player joined, and let's say that if the player dot name is equal to, let's say my name, then local h. So this is we're gonna be creating a hint. So let's just do instance. An instance is, this is an instance, this is an instance, this is an instance, this is an instance. Everything that's in a game is an instance, except for all of these right here. These are services. And that's another way you can reference them, is by doing services. Let's say that's what most scripters do, is they'll do, like, not most, but like advanced scripters, they'll do this game service, then they'll reference workspace, or they'll reference players. That's the same as doing game dot, but this is an advanced way, and it's something that you don't need to worry about at all. But everything is an instance, so we're going to make a new one. So how do we do that? We want to make an instance, so instance, then what would we do? Dot new. This means new instance. Now, what kind of instance do we want to make? We want to make a hint. I want to make sure that you can there's actually still hints in this game before I make a fool of myself. Is there still hints in this game? Well, if there is, I'm blind. Yeah, I don't think... I think there's hints in this game. I guess we're about to find out. 1 second. Oops, that's the top. Yep, there's still hints in this game. I don't know why it's not showing though. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add it into workspace. H.text equals player, oh, not a capital P, player.name. We're going to wait 3 seconds. Then we're going to do H destroy. So now what this will do is whenever someone joins, it'll connect player joined, the function, and this is the function that'll connect. This is what it'll pass through, which is the player that joined. And that'll say if the player is Boyku, then it'll create a hint in the workspace with my name. So if I join, it should say Boyku at the top. 1, 2, 3. Boom, and it removes it. Let's say you wanted to add more text to it. Let's say you wanted to say the owner these are connectors or extenders. Like I don't know like the actual term for them, but what they do is they connect things to other to variables and other things. So if you wanted to, you can, instead of using a variable like this, you can connect it to, let's say you have like a thing here that references the place name. You can connect it to that, and the owner of the place name is the player. So these are just connecting things. So it'll add this in the middle. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. The owner Boyku has joined. Let's say we didn't have these. These are very important. Let's say you just say I just want this in the middle of everything. It's gonna error. Because you didn't use a string connector, so we gotta connect it. Then it'll work again. Now these are just like basic functions that you can use. Whenever, like right after this, I want to be showing how to use, I'm going to be showing you a better way to actually use functions rather than calling them in a separate. Because these are still good for certain things, but not a lot of people will use them whenever they're scripting, like actual tech, because it gets really, really like cluttery. Well then, this was Boyku. I hope you enjoyed the basic functions and everything like that. I'm going to be trying to pump out videos like no tomorrow, just to show everyone how to use the knowledge that they get. Alright, peace.